I had a fun idea today to do a take on a recipe CJ did that was a take on a recipe that am I saying that right?
I don't know, but how convenient.
Steak bites, how convenient for all of us. I'm gonna show you guys a fun tailgating recipe. We're gonna do Blue Moon lemon honey glazed steak bites. Is that what I'm gonna call it?
Sure.
That's what I wanna call it. It's gonna be fantastic and delicious and super easy. I'm gonna show you some techniques on how to crush your steak bite game. Let me show you how to do it. So the first thing we're going to start with is obviously our steak. Maybe it's not obvious. A lot of times you see people making steak bites, and what they do is they cube up all of their steak first. But what ends up happening is once you cook them, it's like a bunch of little hockey pucks, CJ.
That's right. You should just go watch my episode that recently came out so you can see exactly what he's talking about.
You're welcome for that tip. What we are going to do is a big hunk of meat. I want a big ribeye. I'm definitely using ribeye. That's, I think, the best one. I want 2 inches thick, 2.5 inches thick, and we're going to season heavily. I'm gonna do steakhouse first and my blackened seasoning. Now this is gonna give us two things, kind of two different kinds of seasoning, but it's also gonna give us some really beautiful color in the activated charcoal. Now again, this is a really, really thick steak, so go heavy, get every single side, and now we're ready to griddle. Like, we don't want to cube it up first. We're gonna cook it whole, we'll cube it later. Now I've got my griddle set to high. I think this is key for me because I want a medium rare, medium steak bite. So I've got my griddle set up to high heat, medium high heat. I want my oil smoking hot. Smoking hot. So what that means, if you haven't seen that before, it means the oil has gotten so hot it's reached smoke point, which is gonna give us the most power to get a sear. And it's not quite there. What, wait a minute, nope, it's almost there. You see smoke, CJ?
Not a ton.
I'm gonna give it 10 seconds, maybe less. The reason we do that is because we want to preserve the crust because we are gonna cube it up later, so we want a really hard, beautiful crust. And the way to do that is with smoking hot oil. There we go. Starting to wisp, just starting to wisp. It's right before the oil burns, actually. Now I'm gonna take my steak and we're gonna put it right down over here. Now I think you can tell on camera, oh yeah, how thick this steak is. This is probably a steak for two.
Dude, it's a monster.
It's a big steak, but that's how we want to do this because we want the most cooking time for the steak. Now, when you cook a really thin steak on your griddle, if you get that hard crust, you're going to end up getting like overcooked. There's no way around it. You're going to get gray meat. So if you are going to try to like pick up your steak game on your Blackstone, get a steak for two. It gives you a much longer window to let all that fat and beautiful stuff happen. So now let's get to our glaze. I'm gonna start with some honey. Now the sweetness is gonna play a big part later. I've got some lemon juice. The acidity and the sweetness are gonna be great here, but the sweetness of fruit is very, very different than the sweetness of honey.
So I think it's obvious to you because you do it all the time, but why did you hold your hand above that?
Seeds, seed catcher, that's all. Just to catch the seeds. I mean, if seeds get in there, just pull them out. There we go. I really love lemon juice on steak, lime juice as well, especially when it's like just a hint of it, where you don't even realize that it's there, but that little bit of brightness, that little bit of flavor plays so good with the fat. All right, so I've got lemon juice and honey. I want to add some fresh thyme. Now, I'm not pulling the leaves off the thyme. I'm leaving them in there. I'm going to whisk this before I add my beer, just to dissolve the honey. Now what's going to happen is the oils are going to come out of the herbs, but most of the leaves, like 90% of the leaves, are going to stay on the stems. If you want to pull them off, but I find leaving them this way is a little bit nicer. And oh yeah, the aroma still comes out.
The convenience is stellar.
Nice. Now is where we come to our beer. Now I've got some Blue Moon. The reason I'm using Blue Moon is because it already has a lot of those citrusy flavors, and that's kind of what we're playing off of. So just a splash. Now this is going to reduce once it hits that screaming hot flat top. Now we can mix that in. Now this is going to become our glaze later. So let's let that sit. Now we've got another, I don't even want to peek yet.
Nah, dude, we got some time.
If you're looking, you ain't cooking. Huh?
All right.
Let's let that go for, let's say, a solid 3 minutes, maybe 4. Once we have that beautiful crust, that's when we're going to flip. Now, I'm kind of a multi-flipper kind of guy when it comes to a piece of meat this big, so get a good crust on all sides. If you want to get that fat side and it's not standing up straight, you can always push it over to the side, lean it on the edge of the griddle. But we definitely want crispiness on all sides. So think 3 to 4 minutes, depending on how thick your steak is, per side until it looks flawless and gorgeous. At this point, our steak has been through some stuff. It's gonna need to take a little nap. It's gonna need to hang out and chill just a little bit. But you can see, I mean, it's ready to eat until you cut into it. This thing is still super, can you see how spongy that is, CJ?
Oh yeah.
Super, super rare still. Oh, but so delicious. Oh, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be really good. Now is the part that it just sucks. We're gonna have to let it rest.
Just gotta be patient.
We're talking 5, maybe even 10 minutes. Basically what happens is all of the fat on the inside, the intramuscular fat, starts to break down at 130. I see him smiling.
Nerd.
Getting nerdy.
Alert.
The reason a big steak cooks nicer is because that window means you can get the internal temperature to 130 so the fat starts getting juicy, which is great, but if you don't rest it, you're gonna cut this thing open, juices are gonna go everywhere. So I gotta stop looking at it.
Okay.
See you in 5 minutes. So we're almost there. We're like 99% there on our rest. Let's go ahead and cut up our sweet yellow onion. I think, CJ, you did bell peppers, right, bud?
I did.
I like peppers and onions. Peppers and onions, steak and onions.
Yeah.
You know what I meant. You know what I meant.
Yeah, you're just doing onions because
exactly.
I did bell peppers.
Let's do much larger chunks than CJ did on his. Big, large chunks of onions. Throw that right down into the leftover beef fat and let it start cruising. We want caramelization, but we don't want it to be too soft. Now it's time to cut our steak. Now here's the beauty of the huge 2-inch steak, right? We cut it and it's still very rare. Now we get to cut it into individual chunks. We want bite size. Also, if the fat offends you, get rid of it, but that is not in my wheelhouse.
Who doesn't love a good fat bottom steak?
Fatty
they
bite.
Make the world go round.
So a fat
bottom steaks.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Now, once you have your cubes, bite-sized cubes, tooth-pickable cubes of beef, throw that right onto the onions. Now it's time for our glaze. Now, these will finish cooking at like medium temp, maybe medium rare, depending on how long you go. Add some of that beautiful liquid to the top, and you'll see it start to reduce really, really quick. Now, the honey and the sweetness in there, it's gonna start glazing. You'll see it start to get real shiny. Give it a few tosses, add a little bit more if you need to, give it a few tosses, and that's pretty much it. Plating this is, it's hard to, make this look chefy. It's a pile of meat, CJ.
And a pile of meat is good.
It's steak and onions.
That's right.
Pile of steak and onions. But what you can do is serve it with a delicious beer, because nothing goes better with steak than beer, especially when we cooked in it. So let's add our Blue Moon, a beautiful slice of orange, and that, my friends, that's tailgate to the next level. If you want to get rid of the fat.
Why would you want to get rid of the fat, though?
I don't know, that little piece. I want to find a good fatty piece. Oh, right there. See right there? That.
It's fine. That's
So,
the one I was gonna
you know,
take.
real quick, just so you can see at home, we cooked it, then we seared it a second time. Check it.
Dude.
We're still at a medium.
Fantastic.
Still at a medium. Medium steak bites. I would take another bite, but I won't be able to talk.
You could leave at the moment and just hop on over and watch my episode that came out recently as well.
So, steak bites. Super fun, great tailgate food. You can make a lot for a lot of people in the same exact amount of time. The beer and the citrus keeps everything bright. The honey adds that sweetness that beef fat needs. The Blue Moon carries it over the top. That one was, I'm not sharing. I'm sharing. I'll share later. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out. Try that technique on your steak bites game, cooking the steak whole, adding a glaze, tons and tons of fun. Go check out CJ's episode. They were pretty phenomenal. It was balsamic and something else.
Honey balsamic
It was
glaze.
good. But cooking with beer, also ton of fun. Go grab some Blue Moon, make some steak bites, have a fun tailgate. That's all I got. If you are new to the channel, be sure to click the subscribe button down below. Click the bell icon so you get a notification every time we post a video. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you want to see next. Wow. It's a lot of beef.
A lot of beef.
A lot of beef. A lot of onions.
I hear it.
See you guys next time.